Self-Steady English. How I Reached Fluency in 6 Months, Step by Step. The beginning of my 6-month journey. My English journey began on a quiet morning. The sun was still low in the sky. The world felt slow and soft. I sat alone at my desk with a notebook. I looked at my first English book. I felt nervous. I felt excited, too. I knew this moment was important. It was the start of a new life. For many years, I wanted to learn English. I watched people speak English easily. Their voices sounded confident. Their words moved fast. Their ideas were clear. I wanted that feeling. But I always waited. I waited for the right time. I waited for more money. I waited for more confidence. I waited for someone to help me. But nothing changed. One day, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a person who wanted more skills, more opportunities, more freedom, more confidence. I knew English could give me that. So I decided to stop waiting. I decided to start learning. I promised myself one thing. I said it out loud. 6 months. Every day. No excuses. That simple promise changed everything. It gave me direction. It gave me energy. It gave me hope. I did not start with perfect tools. I did not have a teacher. I did not have expensive courses. I only had a smartphone, a notebook, a pair of cheap headphones, and a strong desire to change. In the first week, everything felt new. English sounded strange in my ears, sometimes too fast, sometimes too soft, sometimes too different from my language. But I kept going. I listened every morning. I listened every night. Slowly, the sounds became familiar. They became warm. They became friendly. I started with simple listening stories, short stories about daily life, a man waking up, a woman buying food, a student going to school, a family cooking dinner. These stories were easy, but they helped me a lot. I listened again and again. I repeated sentences. I repeated words. I copied the rhythm. Every time I listened, my mind opened a little more. Every time I repeated, my tongue moved a little easier. And every time I finished a story, I felt a small victory. Small victories were important for me. They gave me confidence. They gave me strength to continue. After 2 weeks, I created a simple plan. A plan I could follow even on busy days. A plan that felt like a daily habit, not a big task. Here was my plan. Morning, 20 minutes listening. Afternoon, 20 minutes shadowing. Night, 20 minutes reading or reviewing vocabulary. Simple, clear, easy. I followed this routine every day. The routine became part of my life. Like brushing my teeth, like drinking water, like walking to work. I learned something important. Learning English is not about doing big things. It is about doing small things many times. One step, then another, then another.
During the first month, I was shy to speak. My voice shook. My mind was slow. Sometimes I forgot simple words. Sometimes I said things incorrectly. Sometimes I felt embarrassed, but I kept speaking alone. I spoke in my room. I spoke during my walks. I spoke in the bathroom. I spoke quietly on the bus. I practiced shadowing every day. Shadowing means listening and speaking at the same time. It felt hard at first. My mouth could not keep up, but I continued. Little by little, my mouth learned the rhythm. My voice became stronger. My sentences became smoother. I noticed a beautiful change. When I shadowed daily, English stopped feeling like a school subject. It began to feel like a part of me. I also created a special notebook. I called it my English Life Book. I wrote simple sentences in it. Simple but personal. I woke up early today. I listened to an English podcast. I want to be more confident. I will not give up. This book helped me think in English. I wrote a little every night. It did not matter if it was simple. It mattered that it was real. It was my English, my voice. By the end of the first month, I felt a big change. I understood more. I spoke more. English started to feel natural. One morning, something surprising happened. I listened to a story I had heard many times. But this time, I understood almost everything. My heart beat fast. I smiled. I felt proud. I felt strong. At that moment, I knew something important. I knew fluency was possible for me. Not in years, not someday, but soon. Maybe in 6 months. Maybe even earlier. But I also learned another lesson. Progress is not a straight line. Some days were easy. Some days were difficult. Some days I felt smart. Some days I felt lost. There were days when I did not understand anything. Days when my brain felt tired. Days when I wanted to stop. But I remembered my promise. 6 months. Every day. No excuses. I repeated that promise like a mantra. I whispered it when I felt weak. I said it loudly when I felt strong. Slowly, I discovered the power of consistency. Not perfect days, not long study hours, just small steps repeated again and again. My goal was not to be perfect. My goal was to grow. Even a little, even slowly. Every morning, I woke up with the same thought. Today, I will learn. Today, I will improve. That simple thought changed everything. It turned learning into a habit. It turned English into a friend. It turned me into a new person. By the end of the second month, I felt ready for bigger steps. I felt ready to challenge myself more. I felt ready to move to the next level. Part 2. The Hard Middle, the Stronger Me. The third month of my journey came quietly, but it brought new challenges, harder challenges, deeper challenges. At this point, I was no longer a beginner, but I was not fluent yet. I was somewhere in the middle. The middle is a strange place. It is where many people stop, but it is also where strong learners grow. In the beginning, progress is fast. Everything feels new. Everything feels exciting. But in the middle, progress slows down. Some days feel heavy. Some days feel gray. Some days feel like nothing is changing. I felt that too. There were mornings when I opened my English app and felt tired. There were nights when I listened to a story and understood nothing. There were afternoons when I could not speak even simple sentences. One day I sat on my bed and said to myself, "Why is it so difficult now?" But I also remembered my promise. 6 months, every day, no excuses. So instead of stopping, I changed my strategy. I made a new plan for the middle stage, a plan to restart my energy, a plan to build power. Here was my new routine. Morning, 30 minutes of shadowing. Afternoon, 20 minutes of simple speaking. Night, 20 minutes of real-life English input. Shadowing in the morning helped my brain wake up. The sounds of English filled my room. My voice warmed up slowly. My mouth moved with more control. Sometimes I walked around my room while shadowing. I felt like an actor preparing for a scene. I felt like a singer practicing a song. Shadowing made my English feel alive. It made learning fun again. In the afternoon, I practiced speaking alone. Not reading, not repeating, just speaking my own ideas. Simple ideas. About my day. About my goals. About my fears. About my dreams. At first, my sentences were short, a little broken, sometimes confused, but every day they became clearer. My ideas became stronger. My voice became freer. I talked about small things. I talked about big things. But the most important thing was this: I talked. Speaking alone helped me remove fear. It removed pressure. I felt safe to make mistakes. Making mistakes helped me grow. Mistakes became teachers, not enemies. At night, I listened to real-life English, but I chose content that matched my level. Short news, easy podcasts, simple stories. I listened with calm attention. I did not try to understand every word. I focused on the big picture. Little by little, the big picture became clear. I remember one special night. I was listening to a simple English podcast. The voice was soft and slow. The story was about a man starting a new job. Suddenly, I understood everything. Not just words, but feelings, images, ideas. I paused the audio. I closed my eyes, and I smiled. This was the moment I knew I was improving. Even when it was hard. Even when I doubted myself. Even when progress felt slow.
During this stage, I also learned something powerful. I learned how to enjoy the process. I stopped thinking about perfection. I stopped thinking about the finish line. I focused on today. I focused on small wins. I focused on showing up. I created a new habit. Every night, I wrote one sentence in my English life book. Only one sentence, but it had to be real. It had to be about me. Some nights I wrote, "I am tired, but I learned today." Other nights I wrote, "I am proud of my speaking practice." And sometimes I wrote, "I am afraid, but I will continue." This habit helped me stay honest. It helped me stay human. It helped me stay motivated. As the weeks passed, my confidence grew. Slowly, but clearly. I started to hear English sentences in my mind. Short sentences, simple sentences, but they came naturally. When I washed dishes, I heard English. When I walked to work, I heard English. When I looked at the sky, I heard English. English was becoming a part of my daily life, a part of my thoughts,
a part of my identity. But even though progress was steady, the middle stage was still challenging. One common problem was frustration. Some days, everything felt too hard. The words felt heavy. The grammar felt confusing. The sentences felt slow. Sometimes I wanted to take a break. Sometimes I even felt like quitting. But each time, I reminded myself why I started. I started because I wanted a better life. I wanted more opportunities. I wanted to communicate with the world. I wanted to change myself. So I continued, not because I was perfect, not because I was strong every day, but because I believed in my journey. In the middle of month 4, I tried something new. I recorded my voice. The first recording surprised me. My voice sounded different from what I expected. My pronunciation was not perfect. Some words were unclear. My rhythm was slow, but it was still English. My English. I listened to the recording again, and I smiled. It was not perfect, but it was real. It was proof of growth. So I kept recording myself. Once a week, every week. Each recording was a little better, a little clearer, a little more natural. These recordings became a powerful tool. They showed me real progress, not imagined progress, not hoped progress, real, measurable progress. Around this time, I also discovered a simple truth. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays. Motivation is like the wind. It changes, it moves, it rises, it falls. But discipline is like the ground, solid, stable, always there. I learned to trust discipline. I learned to trust my routine. I learned to trust the process.
There was one more important lesson in the middle stage. I learned to enjoy learning for its own sake, not just for the result, not just for the goal, but for the beauty of the process. I enjoyed the sound of English in my ears. I enjoyed the feeling of words on my tongue. I enjoyed the quiet moments with my notebook. I enjoyed the small victories. When I reached the end of the 4th month, I felt something new. A quiet confidence, a soft strength, a gentle courage. I was not fluent yet, but I could feel fluency getting closer. I could feel the gap shrinking. I could feel the change happening. I was ready for the final stage, the last 2 months, the months that would complete my transformation, the months that would lift me from learning English to living in English. Part 3. The final push and the new me. Month 5 arrived with quiet confidence. I felt different. I felt stronger. I felt ready for the final push. The final stage was not about learning new grammar. It was not about memorizing long lists of vocabulary. It was about using English, living in English, breathing English. I created a new plan for these last 2 months. Morning, 30 minutes real conversation practice. Afternoon, 20 minutes shadowing. Night, 30 minutes listening to natural English. I wanted English to feel like air, something I used without thinking, something natural, something free. So I looked for ways to speak more. I spoke to myself in English during breakfast. I described the food on my plate. I described the morning air. I described my plans for the day. I spoke while walking on the street. I looked at buildings and named things in English. I described people's clothes. I described the weather.
I described my feelings. I spoke while doing housework. I talked about washing dishes. I talked about cleaning the floor. I talked about folding clothes. Every simple moment became a speaking lesson. Every small action became a chance to grow. Speaking alone helped me in a special way. It removed fear. It gave me control. It trained my mind to think in English. In the middle of month 5, I experienced a special moment. I woke up one morning and realized something strange. My first thought of the day was in English. A simple thought, a soft thought, but it was in English. I smiled quietly. This was the moment I knew my brain was changing. English was no longer just a language I studied. It was becoming a language I lived.
Some days, I pushed myself too hard. I tried to listen to difficult podcasts. I tried to read difficult articles. I tried to speak too quickly. And I got frustrated. I felt lost. I felt confused. I felt tired. One evening, I stopped everything. I sat on my bed in silence. I took a deep breath, and I reminded myself of something important. Learning is not a race. Learning is a journey. When I remembered that, the pressure disappeared. My heart relaxed. My mind softened. I returned to simple English, slow English, clear English. I returned to the basics that built me: listening, shadowing, speaking slowly, thinking simply. And surprisingly, this made me much stronger. My foundation became solid. My confidence returned. My progress grew again. At the end of month 5, I recorded my voice again. This time, something beautiful happened. My voice sounded natural. My rhythm was smooth. My sentences connected easily. I listened to the recording many times, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Real progress, real change, real growth. Month 6 began with new energy. I wanted to finish strong. I wanted to prove to myself that 6 months was enough. Enough to grow, enough to transform, enough to reach fluency. In this final month, I added one more practice. I called it English immersion hours. 1 hour each day. During this hour, everything I did had to be in English. If I watched a video, it was in English. If I listened to music, it was in English. If I read something, it was in English. If I thought about something, I tried to think in English. The first week was difficult. My brain got tired quickly. My concentration dropped. Sometimes I switched back to my native language without noticing. But week by week, it became easier. My brain started to accept English as normal, not foreign, not strange, normal. This was the biggest change of all. The change in my mind. The change in my identity, the change in my habits. Near the end of month 6, something powerful happened. I joined a simple English conversation group online. I listened first. The voices were soft and friendly. People spoke slowly. They used simple words. After a few minutes, the teacher asked, "Who wants to speak next?" My heart beat fast. My hands felt warm, but I raised my hand. I spoke for 2 minutes.
The sentences came from my mouth easily. Not perfectly, not quickly, but naturally. When I finished, the teacher said, "You speak clearly. Your English is very natural." Those words felt like sunshine. Warm, bright, strong.
In that moment, I knew something deep. I was fluent. Not perfect, but fluent enough to live. Fluent enough to communicate. Fluent enough to grow even more. On the last day of my 6-month journey, I opened my very first notebook again. The one from the quiet morning at the start. I looked at my first sentences. They were small and simple, a little shaky, a little unsure. Then I opened my new notebook, the English Life Book, full of my daily sentences, full of my voice, full of my growth. I compared the two notebooks and I smiled. The change was clear. The transformation was real. 6 months had changed my life. I learned something powerful from this journey. Fluency is not magic. Fluency is not talent. Fluency is not something only special people get. Fluency is built, one small step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. You do not need perfect grammar. You do not need expensive teachers. You do not need long study hours. You need consistency. You need patience. You need belief in yourself. You need to show up every day, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. When I closed my notebooks, a soft thought came to me, a quiet thought, a strong thought. If I can do it, anyone can. My 6-month journey taught me more than English. It taught me courage. It taught me discipline. It taught me hope. English opened a new world for me, a world of opportunities, a world of connection, a world of confidence. And now the journey continues because learning never ends. Every day I still practice. Every day I still grow. Every day I move one step forward. This is my story, my powerful story, a simple story, but a real one. And maybe one day it will be your story too.
To support this channel, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your engagement allows us to keep producing high-quality shadowing lessons for you.